live. We are live. Come on. We are live. We are live. And I'm coming at you with 5. Welcome to another episode of G-Boot 2786. Gavin Richard presents. I hope you guys are doing well. I know we're early with doing a live video. I normally don't do these this early, but I'm up getting ready to go to work. And before I go to work, I wanted to just talk about something that was bothering me. I hope you guys are doing well. Please donate to the channel. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, you can donate at my Google and Cash App that I have. But I want to get into something serious. I hope everyone's doing well. There's been a lot going on. A lot of things that I can talk about. And I've done a video on Miss Jefferson before this past Sunday, but I wanted to do something again and just to update everyone. So most of you probably have heard that they have made an arrest in this case, although it took public outcry and a few days for them to do this and to even fire this officer. This guy's name's Aaron Dean. He was the one that shot our sister and killed her, Miss Atatiana Jefferson, 28-year-old graduate of Xavier University in 2014. I guess the defense is going to be he thought this was his house. I don't know. I guess that's the way that they're getting off. These police officers are getting off. But at any rate, as most of you know, in America, and I'll just say this as a generally speaking, what happened, the fact that the police chief, who was actually the interim police chief of Fort Worth, Ed Cross, said he would have fired him. Well, Dean was allowed to resign before Krause could fire him. And of course, if Krause wanted to, he could have not accepted his resignation and fired him. Now, I hope that this family, obviously there's going to be, a lawsuit filed. There's usually a settlement with these things. I know how it works, and I know Lee Merritt is the attorney. And a lot of people feel the funny way about Lee Merritt with regards to, and Ben Crump with regards to what happened recently with the Botham John family and how they acted. And I understand why, but just to let you guys know, typically how, and me speaking as an attorney, when you're talking, I don't practice civil rights law, but typically what happens when these police brutality or these police-involved murders happen, these attorneys will come forward and they'll represent the family either, on a contingency basis, typically, because there's usually a settlement that's being done. And what will happen is that these cities, they'll settle these cases for like $2 million or $1 million. And of course, the family gets money and the attorney will get money from it. They don't do this. You can't work for free, obviously, when you're working as an attorney. What's up, Dennis? You don't work for, attorneys, we don't work for free. So I sympathize with Lee Merritt in regards to that. I do understand, though, why people are upset. Well, they don't win anything and they never prove anything. Well, that's something the criminal aspect, the criminal side of the law, which is the prosecutors do. The civil rights attorneys don't have anything to do with that. Although, yeah, sometimes when I look at the videos, when I saw Lee Merritt's tweet about how he tries to get his clients to be emotional and show emotional, I cringed at that. That's not, he shouldn't have said something like that publicly, let alone bringing that out to the world at that time when all of this stuff with Amber Geiger was still fresh in our minds. After she got what a lot of people feel was a light sentence, and then to have that judge come off the bench and hug her. And speaking of which, I don't know if you guys saw, but Judge Tammy has been going on this forgiveness tour through Tom Joyner and Roland Martin and all of these other old Black Negro shows. I can get into Roland Martin and his behavior, but you guys know how I feel about him, and I don't want to even start with that. But you could check out, I'm sure Jason Black is going to go in on him because he talked about it. briefly, but it was disappointing nonetheless. So anyway, getting into back to Miss Jefferson, Atatiana, this cop apparently, his name is Aaron Dean. He has been on law enforcement since he graduated in 2018 from the police academy. Now, they're claiming now, this is what they're saying, is that before she was shot, Atatiana Jefferson had pointed a gun at the window. And Aaron Dean shot Atatiana Jefferson through the window. And when he screamed, "Put your hands up," and he squeezed off a single shot. Now, what they have acknowledged, however, through their attorneys, Lee Merritt, and even from the police chief, is that they did not honestly do or follow proper procedure as far as doing a wellness check. And the problem with it, the main problem when we look at the video, you guys have seen it, is that never at that time have the police officers identified themselves as police officers. And from what the family even described through the nephew, who my heart goes out to because he saw his auntie get shot right in front of him. So I'm dying. That's not something that a child, an 8-year-old, needs to see, and certainly probably won't even get over. But what they've stated was that she, through the 8-year-old, grabbed the gun because she heard noises outside her home. Now, if you are in your home alone with your nephew and your mother, and this is at 2:30 in the morning, and you see flashlights around, it would be in your back of your mind, you probably would be thinking someone is trying to burglarize your home. And I'm pretty damn sure 95% of us or better who owns a gun, that would be the first thing to grab if we heard any noises coming outside your house. Now, I'm not saying you would shoot anyone or kill anybody, but you certainly would be prepared because and keep in mind also, your front door is open. So anybody that wanted to break in could come in. So naturally, when she sees these lights going, flashlights running around her house, she's thinking it's a burglary. So she grabs her gun, and whether she pointed it or not is irrelevant. And even the mayor of Fort Worth, Betsy Price, wrote in an open letter that a gun is irrelevant. Atatiana, I hope I'm saying that right. Atatiana Jefferson was in her home caring for her 8-year-old nephew. She was a victim, and she was taken from her family in circumstances. Atatiana, that's Atatiana. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to make sure I pronounce it correctly. Atatiana. That's it. She was a victim, and she was taken from her family in circumstances that are unthinkable. Okay. This is what the mayor of Fort Worth said. Of course, Fort Worth and Dallas are right next to each other, and I've been hearing that Fort Worth has always had issues with blacks, as just like with Dallas with their police department. Those cities are kind of tied together. So that's the link for that. So he was arrested, and he was booked in Tarrant County Jail on Monday afternoon. But subsequently, he was given bail, and his bail was set for murder at $200,000. And typically, when you're dealing with murder charges, bail should be set. I know armed robbery charges that are set around that much. Murder charges are usually more severe, since it's a more severe penalty. Those would actually be set higher. So that was a very low amount, and I'm not surprised that he made his bail either. And what's going on, guys? Like I say again, this is open season on the black man and also the black woman. And it's not a failure of policy that this person did so much as it's just what they've been doing. The average police officer What's going on, Edna? The average police officer, I'm not, and yeah, we know there's some good cops out there, but most of these police officers that come in, they're not, educated men. Some of them are not. That's just real. Some of them are ignorant and dumb motherfuckers. That's just the truth. There are cops who are not that bright. And you get police officers that are in there and they're not either properly trained how to handle situations. They're not from the communities. They're talking about having police officers that are, in the communities that should be patrolling these neighborhoods and, walking a beat like an old beat cop and so forth that knew the community. And maybe that might, I don't know if that necessarily would stop any police, these police killings. I don't think it would. But, certainly the times have changed when you did have police officers that lived in the neighborhood that walked the beat. But you don't see that anymore. And there was a time when neighborhoods were safe. But let's think about this for a minute. Atatiana Jefferson has the front door open to get air, from my understanding. They said it was a beautiful fall evening. And what that tells me is that neighborhood, those people feel pretty damn safe with each other. There's actually good neighbors. James Smith, who called the police as a wellness check, it was a non-emergency line that he called from, was worried about his neighbor. They don't usually have the front door open. And I said that the mother was home. I apologize. She's hospitalized, I think. Excuse me. Has the front door open to get air, right? And gets shot. Now, I don't want anyone calling the police on me. You're scared now because now you can get killed. I wouldn't want anyone calling the police even to check up on me. A lot of people feel that way too now when they see stories like this. Don't call in for a wellness check or anything like that. I'm responsible for the safety of my home. I'll take care of what needs to be taken care of when people are trying to break in, when people are trying to hurt me. And 911 would be called later because you can't even defend yourself inside your own house. I mean, what they've said, like when I listen to what happened, when we look at what happened, comparing it to Botham Jean's situation and to the Jefferson situation, it's almost like they happen right after each other. It almost sounds like they're testing the waters, like this was a setup. And maybe I'm wrong for saying that, but it just seems it can't be a coincidence. It just sounds so coincidental and so close to each other that it doesn't seem like a coincidence that something like this happened. When we learn from the Geiger case about, mistake of fact and, going into someone else's home, thinking it's yours. Of course, in this case, you can't say that he thought it was his own home because he was answering a call with the other officers. And the first thing, here's the thing. The first thing they do to bring a wellness check, is my understanding that it was a wellness check with the SWAT team there. You got to be fucking crazy. How do you bring multiple police officers, or yet alone SWAT, to a wellness check, from what I understand? And then when you release the video, when the investigators went inside the home, they found a gun, and when they released the video, they take a picture. I'm talking about the body cam footage of the gun that was found inside the home to coincide with the police officer shooting through the window. And they did that to make it look and to slander this woman as if she was the aggressor. And this is typical of what they do. And in my understanding also, they've raised money for this cop for his own legal defense team, just like they did with Amber Geiger. I don't believe she paid any of those attorneys that represented her. I believe they volunteered to do that. These were private attorneys because they, get publicity from handling cases like this. A major case like that, is something. It's worth a lot of you can bring a lot of business to an attorney, especially if they do it pro bono. Of course, it's a lot of hours and time. A lot of people don't like working pro bono, and it's not necessarily a requirement. But it's highly recommended here that we try to give back certain amount of hours in the legal field. But Geiger, yeah, those attorneys, I don't think represented her for any money. They did that for free. And when you have a situation now where he's out on bail, and the first thing that they're going to do is try and defame Miss Jefferson, Atatiana Jefferson, so forth. Well, the first thing you didn't do was announce who you were. So is it a shock why she reacted the way that she did and had a gun? Obviously not. Obviously not. Lee Merritt states here, this is the article from oxygen.com, that they could be turning her into a suspect, a silhouette, or threat. Yeah, that's what they do. I agree with Lee on that. He resigned before his opportunity to be cooperative. That's what the police chief stated. They never announced that he was a police officer, a spokesman for the department. Lieutenant Brandon O'Neill. Additionally, the police did not park in front of the home. Rather, they parked down the street or put any sirens on. So that's very key. There's no warnings or anything to show that that would let any homeowner know when they see flashlights or hear noises going around their home, that walking noises. I'm not talking about an actual police siren, but there's would leave me to just believe that there is some type of criminal activity going on where, hey, maybe I need to grab my Glock to protect my nephew, to protect my sister, to protect myself. $200,000 bail. They got a lot of brothers that are locked up even on petty charges. There's bail they can't even afford. And he was able to get out. Now, everything is taken on a case by case basis. I get that. So we just have to wait and see what actually happens. But I'm not going to be surprised if this guy is going to walk. That's just me, because we already know how these guys work, what the storyline is. We can already see it's going to be, I feared for my life. That's always what they mention and what they bring up at every police shooting. And 70 and 90% of the chances, I don't know a police officer. I don't know white that, or even a white person that will kill someone, or harm a black person, and gets at least gets life in prison. Now, I've never seen one, maybe with the exception of the James Byrd killing in Texas, where they dragged that man to his death. There was, I think, just recently, one of the last murderers that were convicted actually did get lethal injection from killing James Byrd. I think it was, and the family for James Byrd actually were protesting against it because they don't believe in the death penalty. So that has happened. That's the only time in Texas, if I'm not mistaken, that a white person was ever killed for or sentenced to death for killing a black person in Texas since slavery times, when it was really a battle. Reason that white person was sentenced to death was because they destroyed the property of another white master. So that just gives you a little history and about how racist Texas is. And Texas is one of those places that had the first sundown towns where blacks were not allowed to be out at when the sun went down. There's a reason why whenever the street lights came on, when black people would actually go back inside and not be on the streets, was because they weren't allowed to be out during certain times in certain different areas. So we just got to keep our eyes open and keep listening to what's going on with this story, because it's very disturbing what happens. You can't slander this woman because she was actually a college graduate. She had, uh, she was a professional. She was in pharmaceutical sales. So there's nothing you could say about her that was negative in any way, shape, or form that you can try and justify the shooting, although they are trying to do so. So anyway, guys, if this is your first time in the chat, this is first time watching this video, please subscribe to my channel. Also, if you can, please donate to the channel. The donation links are actually in the description box. You guys have a great Thursday afternoon. Enjoy yourself, whoever you are, wherever you are, and be blessed. Peace.